Ayes have it. I understand it is the intention of the government to introduce two bills.
Kaikoura Earthquakes Emergency Relief Bill, Introduction. Civil Defence Emergency Management Amendment Act 2016 Amendment Bill, Introduction.
Those bills are set down for first reading forthwith. The Honourable Jerry Brownlee.
Mr Speaker, I move that the Hurunui Kaikoura Earthquakes Emergency Relief Bill be now read a first time. I nominate the Local Government and Environment Committee to consider the bill. At the appropriate time, I intend to move that the bill will be reported to the House on the 1st of December 2016 and that the committee have the authority to meet at any time while the House is sitting, except during oral questions and during any evening on a day on which there has been a sitting of the House, despite Standing Order 19, 1B and C. Mr Speaker, it gives me... it's not really an honour, sir, because what we're doing here is introducing a bill that is absolutely necessary in these circumstances. And I think it's just worth traversing the fact that the House considered, or will consider shortly, a bill that will move us from the emergency state into transition. This bill, however, sir, is about making sure that people who have taken actions over the last 2.5 weeks or so can do so with the comfort that they're not going to find themselves in breach of the law moving forward, provided the reasons for their actions do line up with the relatively, I think, generous provisions that are in the law. We know, sir, that when you get an earthquake the size of this one, it does cause damage of different types in different places. In Wellington here, it's been the shaking damage that's affected buildings. In Kaikoura, for example, it's been often land slips, land slumping, as well as the upwelling of the earth that has caused a considerable amount of difficulty. And one of those difficulties, sir, is that a town like Kaikoura, largely dependent on tourism, finds itself now caught with just a window of 2 hours on each side of the high tide in order to, where they can get boats out for whale watch, or for swimming with dolphins, or feeding sharks, or swimming with seals, or for fishing charters, or any other number of activities that go along the side of that beautiful coast. So they will have to have that harbour dredged, and they need to have that done very quickly in order to preserve the local economy. So this bill enables some of that, and Mr Speaker, the committee will, when it considers the bill under the during the Select Committee process, look further at some of the questions that were raised in the cross-party forum as late as last evening. But in essence, it is a bill that will allow things to move forward as quickly as possible. I think, Mr Speaker, the real point I want to make is that many of the provisions that are going to be in all of these bills are driven by the experience that came out of the Christchurch sequence of earthquakes. So it's not as if the officials who have worked so very hard on these bills haven't had some points of reference. They have, and they've also, I think, listened to the concerns that many would have around some constitutional matters that might be raised when you are passing exceptional law like this. So, Mr Speaker, it's important then that if it is an exceptional circumstance, there is some terminating date. And in this case, the fourth part of this bill will expire on the 30th of March. Will expire in 2018. So there is time for people to move and get their lives back as quickly as possible within the parameters, as I said earlier, set by this bill. Mr Speaker, I'm not sure that it requires a great deal more discussion. I'm sure the contributions from others in the House will elucidate areas that they wish to highlight or explain their positions on, etc. But I finish this contribution by thanking all those who have participated in the process to date and assure that anyone who is watching this process that this bill going to a Select Committee for a short time recognises its unique nature, but is absolutely necessary.
Members, the question is